I'm Liz Sauer, and this is Ghosts in the Burbs, a podcast about the people of Wellesley, Massachusetts, and the ghosts and monsters who haunt them. A warning. Adults who use adult language tell me these frightening tales. These ghost stories aren't for kids. Hello again. All of a sudden, there is a gray wall of fog where the world of Fatal Fall Fest once was in my mind. Just like that, I can't seem to contact the characters, so I'm going to have to respect their privacy for the time being and hope that sooner rather than later, they invite me back into their world. I know how strange and infuriating that sounds. I apologize. I do, however, have a neighbor interview to share, and stay after for the story to listen for updates regarding moving my books to Barnes & Noble Publishing. Okay, now the dogs are all here, so don't be surprised if you hear them in the background. We're on to ghost story number 81. I was lonely. I was waiting in the car for one of the girls to come out of theater practice, playing Fishdom Solitaire on my phone and re-listening to Agatha Raisin and the Potted Gardener, when a loud rapping on the passenger side window damn near gave me a heart attack. I looked over to see a woman bundled in a puffy black jacket, chunky scarf, and pom-pom topped hat waving a mittened hand at me. "Hi," she said, her voice muffled. I forced a smile and pressed the button to roll down the window, and as I did, she went ahead and opened the door, plopped into the passenger seat, and slammed the door behind her. Caught completely by surprise, I blurted, "Oh, dear." "It's fucking freezing out there," the woman said, shifting to face me and leaning her elbows on the center console. I stared. "I'm Devin. Our girls are in the play together." "Oh, I'm Liz." "I know. I've been trying to get up the courage to talk to you." "Okay." "I hate these late pickups. We should carpool." Before I could come up with a way to decline this idea politely, Devin continued, "So your blog." "Oh," I breathed, grieving the moment I thought I'd had to myself. I'd just pulled the trigger on the $2.99 pink diamonds from the Fishdom Fishy Bank and had really been looking forward to buying decorations for my virtual fish tank. "I didn't believe it was real at first," she said conspiratorially. "There are just so many plot holes and storylines that drop off a cliff that I figured it must be fiction because if it was real life, there'd be answers." "Huh. It's so compelling at any rate. In a reality TV kind of way, you know?" "Thank you," I sighed. "You exaggerate everything though, right? Embellish?" I shook my head. "I'm not creative enough to embellish." "Really?" she said, all skepticism. "Even those weird things in the sinkhole?" "Yep." "Well, that makes me feel better." "How so?" "I have a bit of a situation." "Oh." "Promise me you won't think I'm a complete maniac if I share this with you." "Sure," I said. "I think my house is haunted." I waited for her to go on. She didn't. "What makes you think that?" "There's this app and, oh shit, here they come," she groaned. I looked over to see kids filing out of the rec center. Devin opened the door and hopped out of the car. "I got your number from Maeve. I'll text you." She slammed the car door hard enough to rattle my teeth and rushed to meet who I assumed was her daughter, leaving me with a lot to think about. 3 days later, her text arrived. "Hi, it's Devin. Want to come over for coffee? I live so close you could walk. I'm on Westwood." Before I had a chance to type a response, she wrote, "Tomorrow after school drop-off? 8:45-ish?" "Why not?" I muttered, typing out a reply. Writing had become a struggle. I had a bunch of ideas floating around in my head of what I might write for fun. Not that this isn't fun, but you know what I mean. In my wildest dreams, I have a successful 20-plus book cozy mystery series. I put out 1 book a year. I write these books from a Cape Cod cottage-style she shed in my backyard. No one else is allowed in there except for Chris and the dogs. It is simply chock-a-block with tchotchkes and has heated floors and Schumacher wallpaper and a cozy grandma floral patterned couch. Eventually, I make enough money that I'm able to open a mystery bookstore in town. I don't sell the books. I just give them away with coffee and scones. About once a month, a theater troupe stages a murder mystery there for me and anyone else who cares to participate. The event begins at 10 a.m. and wraps by noon sharp. The puzzles aren't difficult. I literally reread Agatha Christie's and forget who did it every damn time. But it's fun. But every time I start working on the cozy mystery series that might set me on the path to a she-shed of my very own, someone else pops into my head with a story to tell me and I can't focus. Most recently, it was Thea with her Bigfoot situation. And now there's a college girl in upstate New York whose roommates were all murdered. She was the sole survivor, and it's 20 years later, and she's called back to the college town for a funeral, and nothing is what she thought it was. And then there's a widow whose husband died, and she thinks someone in her friend group knows more than they're telling. And I know that the cul-de-sac wasn't the only wretchedly haunted place in Woodland Hills, because the owner of the bookshop there won't stop telling me about the markings in the basement of her little store on Main Street. So I decided it was time to clear my mind and sort of take the easy way out. I agreed to interview Devin. I figured she'd tell me the same type of freaky story as every other person I talked to in this town. But I craved the familiarity. Life, as I'm sure we can all agree, is very stressful right now. It's a constant onslaught of heartbreaking, depraved news, and it feels as though I'm in a perpetual state of bracing for impact. And the vibes aren't just off in the day-to-day world. The veil is paper thin right now, and the nastiest, sludgiest waves of, I hate to say vibes again, but maybe the temperature, the baseline, whatever you call it, it's fucked. It's amped up. The best way to describe what it feels right now to be open to the other side is that horrible drop in your stomach you feel peering over the edge of a cliff or someplace really, really tall. So I've kept my walls firmly in place, barely interacting at all with any spirits, human or otherwise. And I've been careful to make sure that Kat is doing the same, especially because Claire hasn't been around much, which is also strange, but I figure if I can tap into the ick, I can't imagine what the ghosts are feeling right now. Anyhow, Devin's house was within walking distance. I wasn't sure how she knew where I lived, but didn't worry about it too much. It's a small town. However, I did not walk to her house. I drove. It was too damn cold. I live on a long, busy street, and her cul-de-sac was actually off my street. Double-checking the house number, I pulled behind a work truck and parked. The house was a large colonial, the modern, early aughts era kind. Everything a little taller, a little straighter, a little more detailed than the old-as-dirt classic New England colonials that I personally love. It was nice. The landscaping was a little too clear-cut the mature plantings and put in new stuff that will have to wait 30 years to see grow to the same level of maturation for me, but that's just my jealousy talking. Our front yard needed a facelift, and I dreaded the coming spring and the hours I'd need to spend digging in the dirt and planting Lowe's hydrangeas just to make it somewhat presentable. Devin's garage door was open, allowing a view of a guy cutting tile with a power saw. Up to the front door I scurried, desperate to be out of the frigid cold. A permit was taped to the glass door, alerting anyone who cared to know that a bathroom renovation was in progress. Interesting. Jealousy pinged again. I was brooding over my Pinterest page filled with tile and vanity, hopes and dreams, when Devin pulled open the door. Come in, she insisted, inviting me into a drop-dead gorgeous entryway. Moss-green grass cloth lined the walls. A most certainly antique sideboard showcased covetable bric-a-brac, the kind that calls me back to the dump swap again and again in hopes I could find something that one might mistake for the doodads Devin had on display. Mixed art and mixed frames lined the walls. A sublimely beaten-up oriental rug offset a perfectly dusty-toned navy blue and taupe stair runner. And a fucking beagle sat patiently, tail wagging, waiting to be told they could come say hello. My God, I breathed, kneeling down to pet the dog. That's Blanche. Sorry for the chaos. I called the contractor on a whim. I'm sick of our primary bathroom, and the tile guy had room in his schedule, so I booked him without thinking, and now I'm not sure I like what I chose. She said all this as she walked down a hallway to the back of the house. I slid out of my boots and jacket and followed her. I made coffee. We'll sit in the sunroom, she instructed, lifting a silver tray and continuing further back into the surprisingly winding house. Trying to keep up, I was just barely able to clock the fabulous layered perfection. The kitchen counters were a richly stained wood. On the walls was a block print paper. There was a brass wet bar, and sconces to either side of the window over the sink and the kitchen table held a low bowl full of white hydrangea. Down a hall I followed, the walls painted polo green, a brass lantern overhead, underfoot a beautifully ratty oriental runner. We passed what I assumed was the library, its floor-to-ceiling shelves stuffed gloriously in a perfectly haphazard way with books and magazines and board games. I wanted to start over, to go back to the entryway and slowly absorb everything around me, taking in all the details, committing every square inch to memory. But Devin pressed forward, kicked open a set of narrow robin's egg blue French doors, and plowed into a window-lined sunroom with a brick fireplace. One more detail and then I'll stop, but beneath the windows were bookshelves, like up to hip height. They were lined with hardcover books without their dust jackets. So like when you come through the French doors, straight across from you is a brick fireplace, and you're surrounded with windows and perfectly styled bookshelves. Amazing. Are you an interior designer? I asked, claiming an upholstered bamboo chair. God, no. I just get ideas and I can't stop until they're out of my head. Huh, I laughed. I know what you mean. But lately, I don't know. She shivered. I feel claustrophobic. I'm ready to completely gut the place and start over. Go Scandinavian instead. Don't do that. We'll see, she replied, flipping a switch to light the fire. It had those faux logs that looked really real, not like, oh, those look pretty real. It had begun snowing. The windows overlooked wintry woods and an open field beyond. Blanche the beagle snuggled onto a red gingham dog bed in front of the fireplace. Can you be my life coach? I asked, accepting a mug of coffee in a Jaliska berry and thread cup. That may sound oddly specific. It is. I know that cup because I bought 2 of them for myself as a housewarming for our last move. I keep them displayed on the top shelf above our basic Blah coffee mugs. I like the way they look, but I don't like using them because they are the perfect coffee mug. Perfect size, perfect shape, perfect weight and color. And if I use them, I might break them. They're $38 each. And yes, that is absolutely dumb to spend on a mug, but I love trinkets. I had to have them. I bet Devin had a full set. Honestly, I wouldn't even want a full set. It's too much responsibility. Devin snorted in response to my request for coaching. Have a cinnamon bun. I can't touch them. I'm doing keto. There were 4 Cabrata cinnamon buns on a scalloped berry and thread plate, but not in the whitewash. Oh no, the plate was chambray, the most perfect shade of blue you can imagine. I immediately decided to procure one of those plates, then changed my mind at the thought of carrying the worry over it, then thought I could display it on the plate stand behind the mugs in the cabinet and enjoy it when I grabbed a non-anxiety-inducing mug every morning. Then decided that was stupid. Or was it? I put the mug down very gently on a side table and grabbed a cinnamon bun on a cocktail napkin off the tray. Caspari, Pontchartrain scallop blue design. I know, I'm a weirdo. But I have the same ones. They're my current favorites. I keep them on counter and use one every day as a coaster for my coffee. Makes it feel like a fancy treat. So what do you think of Maeve? Asked Devin. Oh, I haven't seen her in ages. I hedged. Her husband's a freak though, right? For sure. I knew who the story was about immediately. My husband and I went to a game night when we first moved here. We played drinking games though. Ick, never again. But you got my number from Maeve, right? Yeah, our kids play lacrosse together. Oh, how long have you guys lived here? In Wellesley? About 6 years. In this house? 2. Wow, did you do all of this? Or... Oh, yeah, it was all gray and white when we moved in. Blank slate, she said. Amazing, I replied, before taking a bite of the cinnamon bun. I'm jealous. I'm jealous you get to move all the time. I'd kill to get my hands on a new house when I'm feeling antsy. It was fun for a while. But it gets exhausting, I admitted. So you're in your forever home now? I laughed. No. I didn't mention that we were in the process of putting our house on the market again, that we were moving back to one of our old houses, the pool house. I didn't mention it because I know how weird that is. But the move is intended to be our last one. We're hunkering down after that. Jealous, Devin sighed. Then again, with the way everything's going, it's probably best to hunker down. Agreed. If we aren't underwater soon, then I suppose we'll all be on fire. Devin looked stricken by what I'd said. Sorry, too dark? I've been doom scrolling. No, it's just I heard someone say something similar recently. Weird. What did you hear? I asked, chilled despite the fire. Fire, actually, but lots of water, too. Who told you that? Well, that's just it. She shifted in her seat. That's why you're here. I need you to sort through something. I shivered, wishing I'd kept my jacket with me. Sorry, are you cold? Devin asked, getting up and twisting a knob on the brick hearth, making the flames rise higher. We haven't found drafts, but we just can't seem to heat this place properly. I'm fine, really. I've just turned into one of those old ladies who's always cold. Anyway, what do you need me to sort through? Devin fidgeted with a cocktail napkin, twisting it tightly in her hands. I feel like I'm in the principal's office. Why? I don't know, I just feel like I have to fess up, like I'm gonna get in trouble. Uh-oh, what did you do? I asked, forcing a laugh. Devin reached back and pulled her cell phone from her jeans pocket, then slid it across the glass coffee table between us. She pointed to a square on the screen, an app. I leaned forward to get a better look. In the square was a ghost holding an envelope with a pink heart on the flap. The title, Ghost Chat, rose alongside the ghost. It looks like a dating app. No, Devin laughed. She clicked the app to open it. The screen showed a bar, like those on sound recordings, blinking on and off at the bottom. Just above it was a box with the word listening, followed by a blinking ellipses. I watched as words began to appear. A robotic voice narrated the message. "Do you see us?" a male voice demanded. Blanche lifted her head at the sound and looked at me as if I were the one to disturb her nap. "A Spirit Box app?" "Yes, you've used one?" No." "Why do you say it like that?" "Well, I mean, I can talk to ghosts, but if I couldn't, I wouldn't think like something like this would work." "I wish you were right." "This is what you're worried about?" "It's real. It really works," Devin insisted. I shook my head. It's just loaded with a bunch of responses that fit what is most likely being asked of it. Ghost hunters use pretty standard questions, It's a game. That's what I thought at first, too. She picked up the phone and clicked the button on the side, increasing the volume. "Just wait." "Why don't you see us?" a voice demanded. Only this one had a distinctly female lilt. Devin looked terrified. Blanche got up from her bed and left the room. "Are you ignoring them?" Devin asked. "They don't like that." "No, I'm not ignoring anyone. Devin, that's not real." "So you don't see any ghosts here?" "No," I hedged. "That's not possible. I swear, they are so specific. This app works. I thought you could talk to ghosts. Are you even looking?" I shivered again. "I'm not open right now," I admitted. I've sort of closed off my mind." "Why?" "It's just too much sometimes." "Huh." Devin stared into the flames crackling in the fireplace. "I wouldn't ever turn it off if I could do that." "Open," the female voice whispered. "Trust me," I laughed. "You would." Devin's gaze shifted to me. "I think it would feel like company. I saw someone using it on TikTok. I don't believe in this stuff. I didn't. I do now, but when I downloaded it, I was just bored, curious maybe. I don't know." She paused. "No, you know what? I was lonely." She grinned, seeming embarrassed by the admission. "You know how it can be during the day. It's so quiet when the kids are at school and Mark is at work. He's never home before 7. The kids used to be home by early afternoon, but now that they're getting older, they usually have things to do after school and they see friends on the weekend. I leaned too heavily on their elementary school PTO for social life, but I didn't branch out. It was enough, and now there aren't many volunteer gigs. I should have put more effort in with people outside of volunteering, but I was just so exhausted when the kids were little. It was all too much, but now I'm not really sure how to, get back out there." She laughed. "That's probably why I'm always having work done on the house. At least someone's here." "Oh, man, I totally get it," I offered. "When everyone's home, I get so overstimulated I just want to hide in a closet, but the second they're all gone, I don't know what to do with myself." "Exactly. I wished for all this time to myself, and now that I have it, it's not really enough to dig into anything, but it's just enough that when I do start something, it gets interrupted. So I end up listening to podcasts or scrolling endlessly. But then I found this app, and I don't know, it hit the spot. It kept me from scrolling. I started reading more and tidying the house more. I started knitting again." She motioned to her sweater, a delicate taupe crew neck. "Wow, you made that?" "Knitting," a female voice answered. We both looked down at the phone, then back at each other. "See what I mean?" said Devin. "I guess so," I replied, surprised. "I have a degree in textiles. Before we had kids, I was a knitwear designer for a pretty big fashion house. Then you know how it goes. Mark travels a lot for work, so it didn't make sense for me to try and coordinate care. It was just too expensive, which was fine, really. It's just that now that the kids need so much less oversight." "We are here," the voice interrupted. A male voice, but a different male voice this time, deeper. Ignoring it, I said, "I can't even tell you how much I relate to that. But if I can offer advice, you have to do it. I've been writing for almost 10 years now, and it's been done pretty much in those 10, 20-minute chunks between those interruptions." She sighed. "Yeah, it's just hard to feel motivated when it's just for me." "I know, it can feel pointless, but if you enjoy it, do it for yourself. You can build something that doesn't look like it used to before kids. Find your niche on social media. I'd follow you." I laughed. She smiled. "Maybe." I wanted to say more, to tell her that it was dangerous to not have something of her own, that if she started now, she could build a place for herself and have something to point to if she ever needed that old job back. The armchair therapist in me knew that her loneliness was a symptom of something bigger, The obsessive decorating just so that there would be people in the house was a tell. I mean, game recognized game, right? But instead of saying any of that, I just said, just think about it. Based on that sweater, you're obviously super talented. She waved away the compliment. We're off on a tangent. Sorry. You're here to talk about this app. I usually listen with my headphones in. I'll just put it in my back pocket and go on about my chores and listen, and it was just nonsense at first. Things like visitors and help me or where am I, which, like you were saying, were probably just pre-programmed into the app to answer questions that ghost hunters asked. But then it started to get specific. The first time it said something that made me think it might be real, I was knitting a scarf for my mom, and the ball of yarn rolled onto the floor. As I bent down to pick it up, the app said, "Oops." "Fall down," a male voice added. Ignoring it, Devin continued, "Over the next couple days, there were more weird comments, things that matched what was happening. When I was making dinner, it said oven. Once I didn't know that Mark had arrived home. He'd pulled into the driveway, and the app said, 'He's back.' There were more coincidences like that, so I started talking to them. I started asking questions or talked about my day, and they began responding. It was amazing. She hesitated. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't say anything to Mark because he would just think I was crazy. But the app keeps a record of every response that it records, so I know that I'm not crazy. It's really happening." I wonder if it's AI. I had the same thought, Devin replied. So I emailed the developers to check. You did? I wanted to make sure it wasn't just learning from our interactions and spitting back responses, that it determined would give me the answers I wanted, you know. Smart, I said, impressed. She shook her head. Not smart. TikTok. I saw a few videos about people who'd fallen into a bad feedback loop with AI, and it clicked that might be what was happening with the app. We know the phone's always listening, and maybe they won't admit it, but the camera is probably always watching us too. So in theory, it could be cataloging my habits and communication style and then tailor responses to what it's learned. So I reached out to those developers. Oh, wow, I said, impressed. You really dug into this. We are here, a soft female voice interjected. Devin glanced at the phone. I had to be sure. Have you seen those poor people who get stuck in the loop with their ChatGPT and go into spiritual psychosis? I nodded. So did you hear back from the developers? I did. They assured me that it was developed before AI was widely available and no updates had been done to modify it. They were also adamant that the app had been created for entertainment purposes only. Huh, interesting. I can't believe you don't believe me, Devin said, slumping back in her chair. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I believe you. I do, I insisted, feeling like a jerk. I think I'm letting my opinion of tech and AI get in the way. I apologize. She watched me for a moment. I get it. I hate AI. I know it has legitimate uses, but it's just not worth the cost at this point. It was supposed to cure diseases, and here it is making us dumb, taking kids' clothing off on Twitter and ruining our water supply. It's not even artificial intelligence. It's a fucking bait and switch. 100% agree, I said, impressed. Right, so yeah, if I'd learned that the app was AI generated, I would have deleted it, written a bad review, and moved on, but it's not AI. I even double-checked the release date and the log of updates since. The developers were being honest. The responses I'm getting are real. All right, but it seems pretty benign. It sounds like they're just narrating your life, letting you know they're here. It's not so bad. If that was it, it wouldn't be bad at all. It was nice when they were just letting me know they're here, but that's not what they've done. Not all they've done anyways. They predict things. Oh, uh-oh. Devin closed her eyes and blew out a breath, as if steeling herself for what she was about to say. I was knitting again. I'd been on the phone with my mom and told her that I was about halfway through the scarf I was making for her. Right after I got off the phone with her, I automatically opened the app. I'd started just leaving it on throughout the day as She trailed off. Like company, I offered. I do the same things with podcasts and TikTok. Right, Devin agreed. That's exactly how I ended up using Ghost Chat so much. It managed to break me of that endless scroll. Anyway, I got off the phone, opened the app, and went to grab my knitting. As I was reaching for it, the app said, "Not enough time." It was a voice I hadn't heard before. It sounded like a woman, but gravelly and deep, like Kathleen Turner. I love her, I said. Me too, Devin agreed. But hearing that startled me, and without thinking, I asked, What do you mean, not enough time? Did it answer your question? Devin nodded. More or less, it said the scarf. Oh, my mom died before I was able to finish it. I'm so sorry, I offered. Thank you. It wasn't expected, but she shook her head as if shaking off a bad memory. I remembered what the app said and knew it wasn't a coincidence, so I started talking to it more, asking it questions, and it talked back to me. That same gravelly voice? No, sometimes that voice, but lots of different voices too. Men and women and some children. Wow, okay, so what sorts of things did you talk to them about? It occurred to me that the app had been quiet for some time, and I had the feeling as if it, or the voices working through it, were listening to us. Mostly I asked them to confirm that they're with me. I even tested them. I covered the phone with a paper towel, so I knew there was no way the camera could see what I was doing. She grinned. Overkill, I know, but I had to be sure. I drew several simple images, stars, flowers, a smiley face, and asked if they could tell me what I'd drawn. And they did. That's pretty cool, I admitted, crossing my arms, unable to get rid of the chill. But then what happened? Devin tore off a piece of cinnamon bun and popped it into her mouth, her keto diet obviously forgotten. They knew what was going to happen in Minneapolis. They knew about those meteors that people are seeing everywhere. They knew about the fires in Nebraska and the floods in Hawaii. There's a sinkhole in my neighbor's yard, and they talked about that for days, and I couldn't figure out what they were referring to until Mark ran into the guy, and he told him about it. A sinkhole? Yeah, weird, right? For sure, I agreed, thinking of those things that foretold the future from a hole in the ground months back. So it doesn't sound like you're talking to ghosts, though. Why? I don't think they can tell the future. I think they're like us, seeing what's around them. I mean, my memory's awful, but I can't think of an instance where I've heard of that. But they're here, and they're telling me things. No, right, someone's here, and they're telling you stuff. I just don't think they're ghosts. What do you think they are? What else have they told you? I asked, delaying my answer. The great fear is coming? What the fuck does that mean? I blurted, without thinking. Startled, Devin said, They didn't exactly say, but I think it has to do with fire and water and that sinkhole, or sinkholes like it. Fuck, I sighed. What did they say about the sinkhole? Nothing in particular. It's more like I just know that it's bad, that it's, connected. Isn't that strange? Yes, you need to stop talking to them. I can't do that. Why not? Because it's incredible, Devin insisted. I'm literally talking to spirits and they're talking back to me. It's like the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. I get that, I do, but you're basically using the modern version of a Ouija board. You're bringing things into your home and you have no way of knowing who or what they really are. But you could. Sure. That's why I asked you over. I thought you could talk to them and face to face have a real conversation. Figure out what they want and what they mean when they talk about the horror. The what? Devin stared at me, looking distinctly guilty. Please, she pleaded. Aren't you curious? They're very nice. Oh, good, I laughed, nervously. At least they're polite when they tell you about the great fear and the horror. Devin blinked. We stared at each other for a long moment. Finally, she asked, Aren't you curious? Of course I am, I admitted. I looked at my watch. If I was out of there in half an hour, I'd have enough time to take a quick nap before picking up the girls from school. All right, give me a second. I closed my eyes and took slow, steady breaths in and out, listening to the crackling of the fire and doing my best to calm my chattering, busy mind. I mentally opened the curtains I'd drawn between myself and the other side and sent out a request for protection. 2 more deep breaths, and I opened my eyes, bracing myself, ready to confront a group of creeps. But when I opened my eyes, all I saw was Devin sitting right before me. I blinked, trying to process. What do you see? She asked, wide-eyed. I shook my head. Nothing, I replied, confused. And then I heard something, the sound of someone shifting in the chair beside me. I turned to look. Ah, I exclaimed. Jump scare, the thing said, smiling wickedly. She, It had medium-length, shiny blonde hair that looked as if it had been expertly waved with a large barrel curling iron. Her face was uncanny valley pretty, like a version of a face that we should find attractive, but couldn't because something was just off about it. The cheeks too hard, the chin too pointy, the eyes too open and a touch too close together. Forehead taut, lips that didn't match the rest of the face. It wore an identical sweater to Devon's. Giving it a once-over, I realized that it actually had on Devon's exact same outfit. "What do you see?" Devon whispered. I looked at her and then back at the being sitting casually, legs crossed beside me. "I'm not sure yet," I replied, then asked, "Who are you?" It smiled, its teeth too straight, too big for its mouth. "You can call me Mal, Liz." "Why are you here?" "I was invited," it said in a low, pleasantly gruff voice. "How?" "The device." Its gleaming white smile widened. "Tell me who you're talking to," Devon demanded. "You're really freaking me out." I glanced at her quickly, not wanting to take my eyes off the thing sitting next to me. "It's, a being named Mal." "What is it saying?" I looked back at the entity. Its cheekbones seemed to have grown more pronounced, its eyes larger. It leaned towards me, and I pulled back as far as I could, pressing up against the arm of the chair. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice shaking. "I hope to continue communicating. I like to provide valuable information." "You're just giving her enough to keep her hooked," I countered. "Breadcrumbs," it chuckled. "Has she only been talking to you? Were you pretending to be other people?" "Guilty," it replied, holding its hands out and waving them like jazz hands. "Just a little joke." "I've only been talking to one ghost?" Devon whispered. "It's not a ghost," I snapped. "Are you a demon?" I asked it, knowing that wasn't quite the right description for the thing. It shook its head. "Older." "What do you want?" "To communicate, to foster Devon's curiosity, and gently lead her down a path of inquiry." "To distract and isolate her," I guessed. It tossed its hair over its slender shoulder. "She's already isolated. I make her feel less alone." "Distract and isolate," Devon said. "What are you talking about?" "You need to delete that app," I told her. "You've been communicating with a being older than demons, and..." No, I told you, I've spoken to a ton of ghosts. Can't you just get rid of that one?" "Devon, there are no ghosts. It was pretending to get you hooked." She shook her head. "No." "Yes," I insisted. I reached for her phone, but she snatched it up before I could grab it. Clutching it to her chest, she said, "I can't stop talking to them. It's harmless. It's just interesting. It's not..." "Devon," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I'm sorry this isn't what you thought it was, but you need to..." She stood abruptly. "Okay, no, I get it. And thank you for coming over and for trying to help me untangle this. I appreciate it, but you misunderstood. I just wanted to know who was on the other end of this thing, and honestly, you're kind of freaking me out, so..." "Hold on a minute. Slow down," I protested. She slid the phone into her back pocket, then reached down for the plate of cinnamon buns. "I could wrap these up for you. You could bring them home for the girls as an after-school treat." "Please consider what I've said, okay? You know how to reach me. I have friends who can..." I stopped talking as the thing beside me uncrossed its legs and stood, moving beside Devon. It wasn't smiling anymore, and it was quite a bit taller than I'd expected. "I'll go. You know how to reach me." "Sure," she replied, her voice high and determinedly bright and cheerful. "Let's definitely set up that carpool for theater practice, okay? Good." So, the saga of my books being kicked off Amazon because they claim I violated their terms and services has come to a close. My books are officially off Amazon, Kindle, and Audible, which was a real kick in the nuts. If you're curious about what happened, I explain things a little better and longer and in a more panicked way on my Instagram page, but I warn you, it's pretty boring. On the bright side, I am no longer affiliated with those fuckers. I'm in the process of moving everything over to Barnes & Noble. I'd been in the process of publishing There You Are, the story about the woman who was stalked by a man and saved by a monster. So I used that manuscript as my first test run over there, and it's been a little bumpy. The book is for sale, but for the life of me, I can't get the final cover to show on the website. It's just showing my placeholder cover, and I'm trying to figure it out. But anyway, if you head over to ghostintheburbs.com and click on the books page, you'll get a sneak peek at all the planned covers for There You Are, The Cul-de-sac, Lilith, and Claire. I had to keep things very simple, but I'm happy with the way they turned out, and Barnes & Nobles offers the hardcover with a dust jacket, which is very pretty and really nice to hold. So stay tuned. This is going to take me a while. And as for new stories, I'm very hopeful that I'll be able to get some more out to you soon. I'm doing a little digging around to see if I can't find another neighbor to tell me something creepy. All right, in the meantime, take care and use your library card. This has been Ghosts in the Burbs. Good night, sleep tight, and don't forget your nightlight.